Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast. I am Jamie Truman, your host. What are the challenges facing families in DC, especially in Ward 7 and 8? How were these families really affected during the lockdown, and why is it even worse now? I spoke with Furnish Hope DC founder Niki Mock and her partner, Adriane Herbert, about the challenges residents are facing today. Adriane even speaks about her own experience being a single mom of 5 and living in Ward 8. What does the housing in those areas of DC really look like? And how housing affects a parent's custody with their child. What do these families really need, and how can you help them? What do you think is instrumental in breaking the cycle of poverty for these families? This conversation is eye-opening to the realities of what really happened during the lockdown for these communities and why they are still struggling. The realities of what housing looks like for most of these families and what we can do about it. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Niki and Adriane as much as I did.
Hi, Adriane. Hi, Niki. How are you guys today?
Amazing. How are you?
Thrilled to be talking to you.
Awesome. So, I want to get into Furnish Hope DC, and I know that you guys seek to help residents of DC's Ward 7 and 8 who lack the resources to furnish their homes, and thereby you guys are helping break the cycle of poverty for these families. And you've on your website, it says that you guys have furnished us, I think, 760 homes at this point, which is pretty amazing. And I want to talk about that. But first, I want to know a little bit about both of you guys. So how did you two meet? And I want to know kind of the story behind creating Furnish Hope DC.
Okay, so how we met, you have to listen to my story versus Adriane's story because mine is the right one. And no, just kidding. Hers not so. But when the pandemic started, I turned to full-time doing work that I've done kind of part-time for 35 years or so. I've always worked or volunteered in Ward 8, which is across the Anacostia River in DC. It's a much more isolated part of the city than parts that are on what most people know as the main DC, Washington, DC. There are much fewer resources there. There is no place to buy a washcloth. There really are no stores. In the last few years, there's a grocery store here now, but if you need anything, you have to go elsewhere, to find it pretty much. Through the years, in volunteer and other work, when the pandemic started, I was in a position because I'm very fortunate. My husband can afford both of us. Him and I, not Adriane and I per se, and we're out of the home. And I just turned full time to what then became Furnish Hope DC. I did a GoFundMe for a box truck. After the first, 6 months or so, I started looking for space because during the pandemic, there was a plethora of furniture available. People were either downsizing, moving, redecorating, because a lot of people in the Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Potomac, Northwest area were doing very different things with their lives than, the most underserved, under-resourced residents were doing, trying just to survive. And I was hearing from all my contacts, all my years of working in Ward 8, that things were horrible and there was so much that people needed. And I was like, okay, well, if I had a bigger truck, because at that point I just had a Ford 150, I could be bringing so much more there. And, got the truck, found someone who was willing to drive it besides me, because I'm a good driver, but, truck was getting a little much for me. And Furnish Hope was born. At first, we had offices in the old Bread for the City building on Good Hope Road, what is now Marion Barry Way. And that is where Adriane found me. She came in, and I'll let her tell that story.
I'm Adriane Herbert. I am the single mom of 5 amazing young scholars. I'm a Washingtonian. I've spent most of my life doing something in the community, whether it was at my kiddo's school, volunteering at different organizations. Traditionally, I was born and raised in Northwest, so Ward 8 was very new to me. I moved here because of displacement from where I was living. The rent went up too high. I couldn't afford it, so I had to move my family to somewhere more affordable, which became east of the river. When I came here, I noticed that it was a big difference from living in Northwest to living in Southeast. And I noticed, as Niki said, there's nowhere to buy washcloths, there's nowhere to buy anything. Where I lived before, I lived in walking distance to Target. So it's very different than if you don't have a car in Ward 8, you're pretty much out of luck for everything. And you would either have to take public transportation, which is a little sketchy, or have a friend who has a car that's willing to take you to Virginia or elsewhere to shop. I was on social media, Facebook, and noticed Niki with her truck, and she was looking for volunteers to help her disperse the bikes that she had. And I sent her an inbox. Fast forward, I didn't hear from her for almost a year. Then I saw her again on social media saying, "Hey, I found a spot and I'm opening." So I said, okay, I'm going to send her another message. And I got a message back indicating with the address where she was. And I've been there ever since.
She came and never left. Now, I do want to say, as you witnessed on my trying to get online and do this interview, I am not good on the computer. I did not know about DMs, so I never got those messages. I only knew to post on social media. I didn't realize that people could privately message you. She came in, saw that I really needed help. We were giving, furniture away, household goods.
So people were just really, destitute and needed support. And we just kind of jumped in and have been in it since then.
And I don't know if you all remember, but the first 6 months to a year or so of COVID, most nonprofits were closed. In fact, I think almost all nonprofits were closed, picking up furniture, and clients could not go. So we were really it. Even Bread for the City, and nothing against Bread for the City, but with this $10 million new building next door to us, they were even closed. So we were getting, everyone was finding out about us and coming in. So thankfully, Adriane persevered, even though I didn't get back to her, and she came in and has never left. And that was like 3.5 years ago.
Almost 4 years.
So Adriane, what were those first kind of days and first couple months when you first came in to Furnish Hope DC? What was it like for you?
It was disturbing. I was really saddened to see my community at its place where it was. People were hungry, people were scared, people were confused, everything was closed. There was even the grocery stores, we had to get in line to buy groceries, and they were sanitizing carts. Everyone didn't have laptops for kids to do school. So seeing that is actually what triggered me to stay, because I saw the good work Niki was doing and the donors were doing via, Niki, and bringing things from Bethesda to the ward. Just kind of like made me see that the needs were here, and I needed to be here to make sure it got to where it needed to go in an efficient way.
And so can you tell me a couple stories about individuals that you guys have been able to help through Furnish Hope DC?
Can I tell?
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell the first one that always comes to mind. There was a woman who had walked by where we were on Good Hope Road, didn't really know what was inside. Her kids went to school around the corner, but of course everyone was, at home now online, but she took a chance, knocked on the door, came in and realized what we were doing, shared with us that she had gotten out of a shelter 18 months before, a shelter in Ward 8, was given an apartment and was thrilled to have an apartment, recently renovated. At that time, she had 3 children and a husband, had gone through some addiction issues, so lost her job as a Metro bus driver, which is what led them to be in the shelter, and could not believe that we could actually furnish the apartment. When we drove there the same day in the truck, took all our stuff, just 2 blocks away from us, there was not one single thing in the apartment. Kids were sleeping, all her 3 kids, and she and her husband had been sleeping on the floor for 18 months. Now, you hear stories like that, or you read about them in the paper. I used to be a reporter. I read things like that with a very skeptical mindset, like, okay, they're exaggerating. That wouldn't really happen. We live in the nation's capital. She's 2 blocks from a main street. Her kids went to public school. How could this possibly happen? Got to see it with my own eyes. by, 2 hours later, we had fully furnished her apartment. She was in tears, could not believe it, came back to volunteer with us. She actually is one of the interviewees in a story that one of the stations did on us, and tells a heartbreaking story about her kids coming home one day from school and asking if they were poor because other children said that they were sleeping in beds. How come they didn't have beds? And she was like, no, we're not poor. We were a good, solid family. But that's what, stuck with her. And she felt horrible as a mother, very guilty, felt like she couldn't really go on with her life doing anything else, until she could make things better for her family. And in my mind, that's a great example of why we do what we do. We are not a handout. We started out this way. We're giving furniture to anyone who asked. Now we do more or less vet our clients. We do home visits because we really want to be there for families, for women, men, single parents, not single parents, who are seniors, but who are trying to move on with their life, who see if they only had a comfortable, safe home, they would have more time, energy, money to move forward with their lives. So that has really helped us hone in on our mission, trying to keep that in mind. And now I'll let you tell a story.
For me, I think we had a single dad who was a returning citizen who came home, obtained the job, turned around his whole life in like a really quick turnaround. And he came in and he was like, hey, Miss Adriane and Miss Niki, I have my place now. I just want to make sure I'm able to get custody or regain partial custody of my daughter. I want a relationship with my daughter, but one of the stipulations for me for court is that I have a place to bring her and she needs a space that's her own. So again, another of the videos which we've had, you'll see a snippet of her running into a room that Niki and I designed. She has unicorn and it's a cute girly room, white dresser, shaker rug on the floor. And she runs in and she just looks with glee and her face is happy. Then it cuts to him and he's looking at her and you can see the proud moment on his face that I have this for my baby girl. And then, we even is in contact with him today. He now runs a part of the DC government for returned citizens. And he's an example of, when you give a person the opportunity to make a slight little change, which may not mean a lot to some people, but to be able to have a home for your kids is really important. And even for single dads, who just want to just love their kids and have a creative, happy space for them. That's one that sticks close to my heart.
I say this a lot in my elevator pitches, if you will, but I know, we all know in the DMV area, there is enough furniture for everyone to have a safe, comfortable home. We have to figure out how to get it from those that want to donate it, give it, have too much, are moving, whatever it is, and get it into the hands of the people that need it. Between, I want to say, us and Wider Circle, we tried to figure out the numbers at one point, how much goes into landfills, how much really good furniture goes to landfills. And not only that, there are so many people who pay to have organizations like Hunks with Junks or College Hunks and all those they pay to have them come to take away good furniture because they don't know what else to do with it when they're moving. If they personally can't get it somewhere, it's really difficult now to get the attention, to get to know how to get someone who really needs it to come and get it from them. So we need so many more organizations like ours, or people that want to join us and help us figure out how to get from those who have plenty to those who have nothing. And it shouldn't be this hard. It just shouldn't be this hard, and it makes the world a difference.
So tell me exactly what are the most needed items?
Everything.
No, not everything, because there's some things we don't take.
Right.
We try not to take furniture made with glass because most of our families do have children, and we don't We don't take big armoires and consoles, overly large furniture. We try not to take king size beds unless we know we have someone for that, but beds with no stains on either side of the mattress. We are committed to the policy that if we wouldn't put it in our homes, we won't put
go
it
to
in someone
yours.
else's home.
Mhm.
We try to be really respectful.
Couches.
Dressers, to me, a really important thing are dining room tables and chairs. Obviously, a little bit on the smaller side, because I really believe a family that eats together, particularly that has dinner together every night, is a family that's going to be more successful, and studies show that. And it, just like a bed, I feel like that should be a staple, as well as a couch then for people to hang out on. But yeah, all your basic staples that all of us have in our homes that other people should have. In the kitchen, we always need pots and pans in good condition, dinner plates, flatware.
Linen.
It sounds silly, but if you don't have a place to buy a pot or pan, that makes a huge difference. Even if you have, food, if you don't have a toaster oven, because many of our clients don't have working, stoves. We've been to many places where unfortunately, they didn't even have working refrigerators, but we don't do large appliances. We refer where people can get those, but we don't do large appliances. But all your furniture basics, and it makes sense that a family or a single person, a senior who has nothing, and imagine a smaller apartment or home, you would need to have a safe, comfortable home. That's what we need. I was going to say one other thing about the home. So we now have office space in something called the Hive on Good Hope Road, now Marion Barry Way in Anacostia. So this is where our clients come to meet us. We do our intakes, et cetera, and we keep the furniture in 5 storage units that are a few miles away on Southern Avenue. But what we used to have was space big enough where we could have the furniture at the same place as our offices, because then people could be vested in picking out their furniture. They could decide what couch they wanted, what dining room table they wanted, instead of us maybe being able to show them a couple of pictures and decide. But it has been impossible since last October to find that space. So we're always looking for that. That would be our ideal. We're also looking to fundraise for another box truck, because we are growing every day, every month in leaps and bounds. As more people know about us, more people want furniture, and there is a plethora of furniture out there that people want to donate. We can only make so many pickups and deliveries in one day.
Right. So tell me a little bit about that. So tell me what a person has to do if they're looking for furniture, and then what about someone that is interested in donating their furniture?
3-step process.
So we have a 3-step process. The person would come in and do an in-person workshop with us, where they come in and we talk about what their needs are, how we best could support it. Then we'll schedule a home visit where myself or Nikki or TJ will go out with the family to their home and walk around and talk about the space, how wide the doors are, so that we can make sure that furniture that's picked for them can be accommodated in the home. We'll also look around, because sometimes families don't know that they need other items. We have a lot of families who are coming from very tense situations. So we have moms escaping domestic violence. We have families who have been reunified because the kids may have been taken into foster care, or we have families who may be coming from a shelter situation. So a lot of times they're just so grateful to have a place, they'll just ask for the basics. They'll say, well, can I just get a bed? And I'll say, hey, well, what about a couch and a dining room table? Or do you guys have bowls and forks? And, how are the kids going to eat? Or do you have enough linen? Do you have bath towels? And then they'll say, wow, you guys have all of that. And I say, well, is it okay if we walk around together and I'll point out things to them that would make the home more comfortable? So then once we go through that step, the final step is our curbside delivery, and we'll bring it up and we'll bring it to the curb, and we'll ask them to put a little sweat equity in and help us get it inside. And then, if they can do that, they have their house together. And sometimes if time permits, I'll even help them organize it. Nikki and
Decorate.
we'll come in and we'll help decorate and show them the bed, because we have an amazing donor who donates bedding to us,
New bedding.
on new bedding with mattress covers and proper pillows, and we have the bed skirts and everything. And a lot of families just be so overwhelmed. They're like, what is all of this? So I say, this is a duvet. This is what you can use, you know? So they're like, wow, you're giving us all of this. And I said, come on, let's put it together.
Adriane is actually a thwarted decorator at heart. So I just want to put in a plug for anyone who needs some assistance with that. She's incredible. Adriane also mentioned curbside delivery. So up until this point, everything is free. What we do, we ask for a $40 donation if they need our box truck driver and his assistant to actually bring everything up to, let's say they're on a second, third floor of stairs and they feel they have no other way of getting it upstairs. If they don't have the $40, we weigh that on a case by case basis, and we feel like they really can't afford the $40, we still do it.
And what have you guys learned, over the past 3 years?
Oh boy, you do not have enough time. You do not.
I'll just give you the biggest thing, that the need is still here. We're way past COVID, and a lot of people are like, oh, that was so long ago. The community is suffering a great deal from the aftermaths of COVID. So we're seeing families actually rebuilding from COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs. The matriarch of the family has passed on. People are figuring out, what do we do now? And the benefits that the city was providing, the extra SNAP benefits, which are the food supplement, food stamps, were given. Some families received maybe 3 times the amount that they received then than they receive now. So they had gone from maybe receiving $3,000 a month to now receiving maybe $300 a month. So with those reductions in benefits and reduction in resources in the community, a lot of nonprofits kind of closed down. A lot of businesses have closed down. So a lot of people have lost their jobs, and the process of rebuilding is happening in the community right now. So we see that the need is really, to me, it's even greater than it was during COVID.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you thought the need now was greater, or
Yes.
in that sense, you think it's greater?
I think it's greater now.
So I would say the things that I've learned, I think I probably knew from reading the newspaper, or I had worked and volunteered in Ward A probably for 35 years, but it's very different when you're having more personal relationship with the clients and you're going into their homes, you're hearing life stories. I have learned so much from Adriane. If we don't really have enough time to talk about what keeps people in the cycle of poverty, but in my mind, it is unimaginable. People that don't see for themselves what life is like here are clueless about how we do keep, and in the case of Washington, DC, it's many families trapped in this cycle of violence. If women go to work, they lose all their benefits. Childcare is a fortune. Finding childcare, not having transportation or a car. And don't forget, during COVID, public transportation was really out of the question. The violence here,
Housing.
I'm totally getting to that. The violence here is frightening. It keeps a lot of parents don't let their kids go outside to play after school. The schools, and I don't want to put down the school system, but it is nothing like what my children experienced. Once I had children, I couldn't sleep at night knowing that there were other children that had none of the resources that I took for granted, my children were able to take for granted. If we're not all part of the solution, I think we're part of the problem. We just need to bring far more resources and make the community not a Ward A community, or about it being in a certain neighborhood, but that we really believe in it takes a village, and we are all part of a bigger community. If we're not all thriving, we're not going anywhere as a society. And I'll say, instead of some of us sending our kids off to third world countries and building toilets or whatever we're doing there, come to Southeast, come to Northeast, and let's build a community here. Let's make this a better, stronger place. I'm gonna shut myself up because I know, sometimes that is a little too harsh to say, but I wish we had more support here. I really do. I wish we had more people with very different skills that were willing to mentor families, people with financial literacy, willing to help other families. We need people with trucks, with, Ford 150s that were willing to help us move furniture. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody, people that are great with organizing. Wow, do we need help with that? Adriane teaches a clean, one thing we learned in the last 2 years is that a lot of our parents need help with cleaning, knowing how to clean their homes, because we go into so many homes that are deplorable, that volunteers who have gone in and others have had to leave because they literally get sick. It is unimaginable how some people live, but we need to change that. We have gone into too many homes and then ended up cleaning them ourselves and putting people up in hotels so we can get the places repainted and all that. But that shouldn't be what we're doing. That should just not be a government, programs, et cetera, need to be more on top of things and doing that. But, I have a huge list. I'm going to ask your next question. Sorry.
Well, that kind of goes into one of my next questions, which was then if somebody is looking to help your organization, obviously we can donate, and you can tell us how exactly you can do that. But if we're looking to volunteer in some sort of way, what type of people are you looking for? I know you've went through a list of individuals, but.
So for me, anyone who wants to help, we need help. We need help from skilled tradesmen to people who are willing to drive. We're looking for families who want to just maybe adopt a family and work with the family and grow with the family. We're looking to just build bridges from one community to another community to make it one whole community. So anything with anyone who wants to help, whether you might want to do something in your community for this community. So you might want to do a furniture drive from where you are. If you can do something at your kids' school, you want to do some care bags for kids in Ward 8. Different things. Whatever you think in your heart that you may be drawn to do, Furnish Hope is looking to support, anyone who has that on their heart.
And for volunteers who want to come here and work with us here, in Southeastern Ward 8, we're in the next month, we're going to be running a volunteer training program. Love to see you. We have a website, furnishhopedc.org. Everyone knows my phone number for better. It's on bathroom walls practically, but my number is 301-523-0324, or you can reach me at Niki, Niki at furnishhopedc.org. Adriane has the same.
Adriane at Furnish Hope DC.
Exactly. And then our website you can go to, and there's all kinds of ways to get in touch with us. But, money is always a great thing too, because it enables us to do more. We have a PayPal on our Furnish Hope DC website, but I'm looking for someone now who would be willing to contact all the real estate agents in the area and let them know about Furnish Hope DC, because that's probably where a lot of furniture would come from, people moving out of their homes and not knowing what to do with the stuff they're leaving. I feel like I've contacted a lot of estate sale people. For a while, I was trying to contact moving companies to see if a moving company would donate their services, once a month. That didn't work out so well, but people who have we also are always open to ideas. We're constantly growing, constantly trying to make our core better, more professional, incredible, so we're open to ideas and anyone who wants to help with that. But anyway.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that, because I have a lot of moms that come up and ask me, and I actually did a few weeks ago, which is why I'm going to do a podcast in a few weeks, of different organizations that I've spoke with that can help children in the beginning of the year. So a lot of moms come up to me and they're like, we want to help other kids. How can we? I don't know how. So this will be, so this will be great for me to showcase there for you guys, that you guys would be a great organization to get connected to with that. So how do you see the future of Furnish Hope DC?
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because we just hired, you met TJ briefly, our first director of operations, because, honestly, when I started this, I just wanted to bring furniture from one place to another. I was a reporter. I was a producer. I had no clue really what I was doing, except I had a really good, strong network base. And I'm a can-do person. I can get things done. My husband is a custom home builder at Bethesda. He had a lot of connections. He's 6'5" and really strong, and would help me with lifting and going places. He lets me store things. He always says he's the only, custom home builder who has a 2-car garage and has never parked a car in it. But, I was keeping things there. It's all over our front porch. It's taken over our dining room. But for a second, I forgot the question. Where are we going? The reason we hired TJ for a director of operations is we knew we had to become more professional. I don't really know about business. This is definitely a second stage in my life right now that I'm lucky to be able to dedicate to myself full time to, but we needed someone who knew about processes, the website, the computer, all that. The hope is once we strengthen our core, that we can expand even more, get that second box truck, hire another driver and assistant. So, right now we can't pick up all the good furniture offered and deliver it to all the people that need it. We could serve so many more people if we were able to do that. So we either need more volunteers with trucks who can help us with that, or, expand that way. Adriane probably is at her, given that she has 5 children who are still in school and has way too big a heart, so ends up spending too much time with each family. She's also teaching these cleaning classes, which I want to put a little plug in for that too, because we now give every family a bucket with all the, basic cleaning products. We're trying to, add a broom, vacuum cleaner, and Swiffer with that, but we're not able to financially to provide those things, but we do have the cleaning products because everyone gets that and is taught if they don't know how to properly clean their home. She's a little stretched, so we are looking for someone to support her with that as well, either volunteer, or if we do raise more money, hire someone part-time to do that. There's no end to how we could expand. It's what we have the manpower, and money to be able to do that.
So before I let you both go, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think someone should know?
We haven't covered housing, which is a huge, people who read the paper know that's a huge issue in Washington, D.C. We see it every day here. Adriane herself does not have proper, appropriate housing big enough for her children. I wish more people would put pressure on the city to make it a priority, because too many people are living in inhumane conditions, and don't have the voice to be able to do something about it. They're being taken advantage of because they're afraid if they say anything, they'll be evicted, or worse. And if they have children, that really is worse. I can't articulate how I believe that's the number one problem, that people don't have, there are too many people who don't have proper housing. It's just disgusting that we allow this to happen. So for me, that is a huge issue. Can you add to that?
So I'll just add that home is the foundation for everything. That's where life begins and basically ends, even for children. So with the furniture, if you don't have a proper place to put the furniture or adequate space, because you have moms like myself, I have 5 children. We currently live in a 3-bedroom. So I have 3 children and one was too old to sleep in the room with others. So we have a bunk bed, a twin bed, and then I have my room, and my youngest child sleeps with me in the room, which is not the best thing for him developmentally, but we're making it work. But there's so many other families. I just saw a family of 8 in a 2-bedroom. I got an email from a family of 8 who just got a DC housing voucher, and now she's seeking somewhere to move. But if you don't have adequate space, we can give you all the furniture, but we can't really give you enough. So you still have kids who are sleeping together. You still have kids, 2 bunk beds in one room. That's a fire hazard, but where's the mom going to put the kids, So I think that all of these things equate to we have to do more as a society and as a community to uplift each other in some kind of way. We all can make a difference. And I believe even the smallest token of care and compassion makes a difference.
I want everybody to know that in the show notes, I will make sure to have all of the information so you can get connected to Niki and Adriane. And you can donate or you can volunteer. There's so many different ways for people to get involved within your organization. I'm very glad that one of our board members, Julie, she introduced me to your organization because I hadn't heard about it. So I'm hoping that this will really get the word out about all the wonderful things that you're doing for so many people. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on and talking about your organization. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Truman Charities podcast. Until next time.
Wow, that was a very eye-opening conversation with Niki and Adriane. If you liked this episode, please make sure to rate and review it on your podcast app. I do read every single one of the reviews, and they really do count. And while you're at it, please make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, Facebook at Truman Charities, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, Jamie Truman. If you do not want to miss any of our upcoming events, go to trumancharities.com and sign up for our newsletter. And if you would like to pick up my book, Vanishing Fathers, The Ripple Effect on Tomorrow's Generation, you can find that on Amazon or any online bookstore. Remember, 100% of the proceeds from that book go to charities that help at-risk youths. So far, since its debut in March, we have raised close to $80,000 for charity, and that is because of all of you. So thank you so much. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you soon. Until next time. If you liked this episode, please make sure to rate and review our podcast. That is how more people learn about the Truman Charities podcast and our organization. And to make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes, subscribe. If you'd like to follow Truman Charities, you can follow us on Facebook at Truman Charities, Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, and check out our website, trumancharities.com.